Hello again. Had so much time, so much fun that last time that I wanted to go ahead and record another one. So, getting another game in here. Let's go for our Grunfeld. If we get to. Yeah, we'll just go for the 2 knights Grunfeld. Try and keep it fairly familiar since we haven't spent a whole lot of time studying. Okay. This scene, I think this is favorable for black because this knight doesn't want to be here blocking the f-pawn. I think the knight in this variation wants to be here after the bishop gets developed to c4. So I'm imagining he's going to try and push e5 to really try and clamp down my bishop. If I bring the queen out to put some pressure on this pawn, it invites him to go ahead and develop his pawn. I think we'll castle first and get our knight out. I'm not worried about this pawn hanging. Doubled c pawns, I'm gonna get it back, so that's not a big concern. Even with the bishop deployed to defend it, I think queen h5 just answers that pretty well. And if he ever takes, then I mean, the c3 pawn's undefended. I think I want to develop my bishop out here. Threaten to take. I'm going to take in the center. Okay. I'm going to take here first. And now I have this nice outpost for my knight. You could choose to snatch this pawn up, which he does. And what's my plan? Move my queen, I'm hanging this pawn. I don't really want to trade this knight for this bishop because the bishop is bad. I think I'll get my rook developed and eye up this c3 pawn. Now he logically wants to just retreat this and attack the knight. I'm okay if he swaps that bishop off, because that knight is um, like I don't want to trade my dark square bishop because it's my power piece. So let's go ahead and get our queen out now that there's no pressure on this e-pawn. I'm down a pawn. He has the bishop pair. So I don't want to clear more pawns off the board unless I can trade off a bishop. Ideally, I would like to stick him with this light square bishop. So I might be looking at just centralizing my rooks, pawn storming on the queen side. Okay. Let's centralize the rooks. He could force this knight off, and I'd have to trade dark square bishops. It's going to leave this pawn hanging, though. Got this nice square here for the knight. With the dark square bishops off, would be eyeing up the e3 square also. So he'd likely need to trade that off. But then I've got my pieces are super active, and his are all in the back rank. So I don't think that favors white. Hmm. He just wants to get his rook developed on this semi-open B file. He might want to get his queen out of the way too. I don't know where he's going to go with it though. Maybe B3. Might hamper my knight C4 ideas. And it does target B7, so that is a candidate move. What do I have if queen B3? Just B6, F4, and then where's the knight going? Only move this knight back to D7. Takes. And then all of a sudden my pieces don't look so well coordinated. He probably gets a rook out to defend this C pawn. Yeah, queen B3. I don't like. I don't like one bit. So maybe no. That traps my knight because my knight has no escape after F4. So I can't block the D6 square or the D7 square. Rook C7, F4. Knight to d7. Takes. So my options, I can push the pawn or I can push the rook to defend the pawn. With the queen leading the charge, it doesn't matter if he stacks another piece behind it. Pushing the pawn traps my queen in a little bit, but so does the rook. I don't have anywhere to go with the queen then. This is a step towards stacking rooks, though. And I think it's the better option. Now I can slide my other rook over. Try to command presence on the c-file. But f4 is going to displace my knight. Takes. Then maybe I do have knight coming here. Or queen with check. Picking up the c-pawn. Get out of there. What are you doing? No, go on. Go on. So maybe taking the dark square bishop isn't in his best interest. Maybe f4 isn't. Maybe he just goes rook a to c1. Seems like a solid move. And then I go rook d to c8. Rook c1, rook d to c8. And then what? He could stack rooks, I guess. At some point I'd have this knight move here after I get my rook to c8. Opening up an attack here and a discovered attack, a discovered battery on the c-file. So he'd want to take then. He'd have to swap off dark square bishops. If rook here, rook to c8. Lifting the rook to c2 is too slow because I have rook here. Although the knight's not really threatening anything, because this rook does protect this. Otherwise I'd have knight to d2 forking the exchange. Maybe if rook here, rook here. Rook here, I would be threatening knight to f3 check, because the pawn will be pinned and I'll pick up the bishop. So he threatens the knight immediately, which I think is probably the best option, yeah. Maybe. He doesn't have to trade dark square bishops. He can continue to push his central pawns, but he does take. Attack on the queen and the e pawn, so queen c2 seems reasonable. Queen d3 just gets in the way of the bishop. He wants to break open my king side. Well, that seems rude. Hmm. If I push e4 and he takes, and I take with the knight, he pushes f5, tagging the knight. Knight to d4, attacking the queen, picking up the bishop. We could just push anyway. Hmm. And he does. Hmm. Now what's my response? I take towards the center. He takes back. He has a passer. I have an open file, but my knight's in the way. So I take on the F file. He takes back. He still has a passer. I take with the G pawn. He takes back. I'm in a conundrum. I'm getting my queen back over here. It's my best option to keep the queen from infiltrating, because if I don't take, white's threatening to push f6. Or he can just take, and then check, winning my knight. So if queen here and takes, I would intermezzo with a check here to guard this square. Move the king, takes back, takes, and now there's no queen check with picking up the knight. And if he pushes, when I get back, my queen can guard the dark squares to keep the queen out of the checkmating, the mating net here with the nail on f6. Okay, so I'm gonna intermezzo check. Might even have this to pick the pawn back up. Maybe with the knight. That's flirting with disaster with a rook coming to the d file though. Hmm. I think I do have to take the pawn because otherwise he's just going to take the pawn. Now if he attacks my queen, I think I have to come here. But that opens up takes. Okay, I can take with the knight. Because if I lift the rook off the back rank, this is mate. The knight will protect that. Oh, well. He can push the pawn. And then I've got to blockade with 2 rooks. Because I can't lift the back rank rook off. Oh, he wants to trade. I don't think I mind that. Do I mind that? That relieves a lot of pressure for me. Um, be down a pawn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for white, 5 for black. Takes, rook takes, pawn takes, pawn takes. He's got a passer in the middle of the board, and I'm using a rook to blockade it. Not pretty. And he's preparing to stack rooks. What's my other option? He's skewering the rook, so if I don't take the queen, he takes the rook. takes, push. Rook back, take the pawn. Leaves him with that passer still. That's dangerous. I think I have to take. And then I'm going to push instead of taking back. Threaten this pawn. If he wants to keep the pawn, he's got to sidestep. And he does sidestep. Okay. That seems to give me the F file. Or I could just keep chasing his rook. Let's just keep chasing the rook. Yeah. For me. Comes here. And I bring the king in a little closer. Threaten to trap his rook, maybe. No, that wouldn't work. That wouldn't work because of that. I'm gonna get my other rook over here. Take control of this. And that gives him enough tempo to protect his pawn. Which he doesn't take. I'll have to plant my knight right there. So why not? Push the pawn, redeploy the knight. That's a plan. No, it's just a nice barricade. But I think white's still better here. Maybe. I mean, you can't say both these pawns now. But he can't get his king. Into the game, I think. It's going to be tricky. Wow. He wants me to separate my pawns. Okay. Not a bad strategy. The knight can't be touched. Okay, now I can get my king here. I think I can make progress here. He cannot. Unless he gets his bishop and his king on this pawn. Oh, there is that. Dang it, there is that. Ah, how did I get blinded? How did I get blinded? I don't know if I can save this now because this pawn is a danger. And he can just shuffle. I think I've lost. I needed my king over here to protect this, and I couldn't venture too far away. I missed that, and it might have been a draw. Maybe. It could have just been winning for white. I'll be fortunate to draw this. I don't think it's a draw, though. I think this is just clearly winning for white. It's kind of tricky, but looks pretty winning. Although the king can't get in because the knight and the pawn keep it out on the king's side. Play is all in the middle here, though. If he can round up that pawn. Well, if he takes it, he sacrifices this one. Bishop here. Maybe then knight here. Maybe not. So the bishop can get back here. Bishop here, knight here. King takes, knight takes. I guess it's my only play, so I got to go with it. The threat of promoting this pawn looks pretty real. This pawn wins it for him because I can't advance my king. Even if I promote, he sacks the bishop. I get the bishop, I have the knight, but he's got my knight cornered. And there's just nothing I can do. Maybe deflect. Let me see if he'll fall for the deflection. Probably not, but worth a shot. Well, this might allow my knight to get back, though, to get this pawn, though. I might have another threat over here that I can keep alive. Now I gotta save the knight because he's gonna pick up the pawn with the king. Maybe I should have promoted just to drive him all the way to the corner. If I swindle a draw out of this, I'm going to be amazed. More moves. He's got to come back and defend this square. And that lets me do this. Should I sack the pawn first? No, I should do this because this lets me. Blockade. Now I'm playing for a win here. This pawn move looks interesting. This pawn looks interesting. Which one's right? You got to be super accurate in games like this, and this is, I feel like I have swindled away something here that I might have a chance to win this. If pawn here, I'm checking. He's got to do something. Imagine he's going to run to this corner because the bishop can't protect this corner. The knight has this square. The pawn has this one. The knight has this one. The pawn has this one. But if I come here to try and take the corner away from him, he's got this square. And then potentially he's got something nasty to stop me. I'm going to push this pawn because it seems right. It just seems like that's the advanced pawn, and I need to make that work. I did that without thinking, really, but where's my victory here? I'm going to keep this as complicated as I can. All he ever has to do is sack this bishop for the pawn, though, and it's a draw. I can push this. Oh no! He can well, if he does that, I just come back. He does not want to take that knight because I catch his pawn and he doesn't catch mine. We've got a forking situation here as well, but if he advances, he doesn't advance. I can. It's a beautiful square for a knight. I think this is going to be a draw. I don't see any way to force a win. My knight has to protect this. There's no forks. It's just a draw. I think it's just a draw. But I've got 3 minutes, 50 seconds here to try and just make sure. Yeah, there's no way because the second I come to the light square, he sacks this. I don't have any waiting move is the problem. I need a waiting move and I don't have it. I check the king. He takes the pawn. I can't run away from this pawn. I leave the knight. He takes the knight. Both pawns are dead in their tracks then. This is just a draw. Yeah, there's nothing. There isn't anything here. Yeah, I'll accept it. There's nothing I can do. Good game, friend. See if that was um, a technical draw or not. So not the most accurate. Black I had a heck of an edge for a while. Looks like I played a brilliancy. So we're in a book, Grunfeld exchange. But I think the opponent goes slightly wrong going into this line. It says it's still book and it's dead even, but We're still book. Move 9, 10. Best move played. So this was a mistake. Well, maybe queen a5 here, or just taking. It probably is taking because then I have, he takes back with the pawn, and I have a 2-on-1 queenside. Long-term strategic edge to try and squeeze through a passer on the queen side. And I know that. It's just been a while since I've really studied my Grunfeld theory. So I'm going to guess that this is the best move. And it's excellent. It is excellent. Not the best. Just defend the pawn. Well, that was an excellent move. And that was a mistake. Okay. Queen a5, not so much. Should have taken the bishop first. White has a 2-pawn edge here. This is just after he retreats this bishop and he has this f4 idea. Something I'd struggled with, but he plays queen b3. I forgot about queen b3. That did give me a little bit of a challenge, but it doesn't say that that's the best move. Rook b1. Mistake to trade. Excuse me, one moment. My dog apparently has to go out this moment. Come on. Apologies, I know this is already kind of a longer video. It didn't like my knight move either. That just seems like the square for the knight to be, but the queen to f3 was a very, very nice answer to keep everything kind of held together. I would rather have my knight on d6, but there's no clear way to get it there immediately, aside from the maneuver that I did. So probably wants me to advance this pawn. Nope, a mistake. That move I did entertain, but I thought the same thing's going to happen here. It also invites rook d1 to look deeper into that idea. And this was a mistake. I was feeling some pressure here, but it calls this a mistake. Oh yeah, okay. A supported pass pawn would have been devastating. But he was kind of hung up on this idea here of the queen and rook battery. It's a mistake now to do this with the queen. I should have taken and given him the pass pawn. All in all, I felt like I kind of navigated this fairly well. This was a mistake. It goes back to dead equal with queen f4. And he should have taken. When I would have taken back with the knight. Oh, no. Can't do that, I don't think, because my rook's... Okay, rook here, and if knight takes, queen here is mate. So... do I have to take the rook first? I think I have to take the rook. Anyway, the game continued here, and it's a dead draw. Dead draw. Slight error there. Should have just got material off the board. I'm feeling pretty good here. I think that I start to realize this is equal in a draw in position. Black even has a slight edge here. And at some point, I think I'm playing for a win. Not so much there. Just get my king back around before I create any weaknesses over here. But he doesn't take. Oh, but this is a light square, and I'm in trouble. Oh, okay. Well, then king here. And we're back to a draw here. Black actually has the edge. I am playing for a win here. There's my brilliancy. Just try to deflect it. Just cross your fingers and hope he takes it. I'm playing for a win here. 4 points up on material, and I squandered a win. 4 points up on the eval bar, at least, not materially, but end games. My end games need some work, and that's always been the case, and it's going to continue to be the case until I put in the work. This was my mistake that brought it back to equal. Okay. Trying to save that with the I could have just protected it with a king. Yeah. And now the king has this. And I can march a pawn forward here. But this pawn remains a challenge. This is going to take super accurate play. And I'm going to spend some time studying this endgame because I did feel like I had the win, but I didn't know how to convert it. And I give him back equality, and there's just no way to push. There's no way to push the pawn through here towards the end, but I'm going to spend some time studying this. Worth a study. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, and come back and enjoy some more chess with me.